You ever feel like sometimes you have something really special for your audience? Maybe it's a unique experience, or maybe it's a unique product or a story, and yet you really struggle to get that communication and that message to your prospects. And sometimes when you do, it kind of leaves them cold. I've been there. It happens to me a lot. I want to share with you in this episode what I refer to as your unique medicine that you have that no one else has, and how do you get that to your marketplace? Hey gang, Bill Caskey here. Welcome back to the Bill Caskey podcast. We are on YouTube today. We're also on audio, and I know I've been kind of sporadic about doing the YouTube videos. You'll notice my voice is about 90%. Last week it was, you didn't hear a podcast because you would not have wanted to hear a podcast. I didn't want to hear me, and I'm pretty good with listening to me. But even last week, the laryngitis was just too bad. It all drained down. And anyway, we won't go into the detail there because I know you don't want to hear it. But I didn't do an episode last week because of the voice. And so I wanted to come back this week and talk about a topic that I see people struggle with a lot. And as a coach, as a business coach and a sales coach, and a person who advises and counsels companies primarily, although individuals as well, one of the things that we start with in our work is, what is your offer? What is it that you bring to the marketplace or to your customer that is, what does it consist of? It consists of pricing, of what is it, how does it work, what isn't it, how quickly can you expect results? All those things are part of your offer. And I find that if you don't understand those things, then it becomes hard to communicate it, obviously. And so one part of the offer is, what is your unique medicine? What's the medicine that you have inside of you? And medicine is a metaphor for knowledge, expertise, wisdom. What is that knowledge that you have that you would say is unique? Because you're taking the experiences that you've had and you're mixing that with your upbringing and your scripts and your beliefs and your tone of voice and your personality. It all gets mixed together. And if it's only about your personality and there's no unique value to it, then it becomes a hard message to communicate. And so in this episode today, I want to talk a little bit about, introduce you to this concept of unique medicine. And you can call it a lot of things. You can call it purpose, your unique value proposition seems a little intellectually boring. But I like the idea of medicine because I think in a world where we are experiencing people with pains and problems and issues, it's helpful to think about ourselves as a remedy for those. So I break this up into three parts. Number one is, what is the medicine that you have? What is that uniqueness that you have concocted and mixed together with your life experiences? And life experiences doesn't just mean the great things, the mountains you've climbed and the wins you've achieved. It's also the losses and the resilience that came from the losses. Number two, how do you package that? And number three, how do you distribute it? So let's talk about what your medicine is first. And this is probably a topic that's a little bit too deep for a 15-minute podcast, but let's give it a shot. At least I want to introduce it to you, and then if you want to go further with it, you can. When we are born, we are faced with unique experiences and decisions and dilemmas. And do I go to this college or that college? Do I play this sport or that sport? Do I disobey my parents or obey my parents? Do I take this drink of alcohol at 15 or do I not? I mean, all these decisions that we are faced with. And these decisions become part of our personality. And I know when I was in my teens, I made a bad decision about alcohol. And the decision was, what difference does it make? Who am I? I'm just a little person on this planet, even though I was 6'5", 210. But mentally and emotionally, I was a little person. I wasn't grown up. I wasn't mature. And so when alcohol came along, I took a sip of it, and it kind of changed the way I felt about myself. I'm like, ooh, I kind of like this. And so I made that decision to go down that path, and it wasn't a good path. God was with me at some point and whispered in my ear and said, okay, that's enough. That's enough of this path. But it shapes us. Every decision we make early in life, not significant, not every decision, you can become obsessed with that, but generally most decisions shape us, where we decide to go to school, what our first job is, whether we decide to follow the rules or break the rules, all those things. And there's no judgment in those things, because sometimes breaking the rules is the right thing. And so all these things become a mix and a concoction, as I said, of this, it's an alchemy of all these experiences. It becomes your medicine. And nobody looks at the world quite the way you look at the world. I know you don't, some of you, when you hear me say that, it just flies by you. But I'm telling you that if you can understand how you look at the world by really examining what that internal medicine is that you have for the world, it will make the communication of that message so much easier. And people will either be repelled by it, they'll run quickly for the hills, or they'll be attracted to it. And they'll show up in your world and want to know more. So deciding what that medicine is step one. And that's a matter of really looking back and saying, what kind of experiences have shaped me? And what do I have that's unique? How does Bill Caskey or Bob Smith or whoever you are show up in a world that is the same? Everybody's the same. How do you show up unique? And I'm not just talking about wearing a wild colored suit or anything. I'm talking about the message you bring to the world. So that's step number one, is get your medicine, understand the medicine that you have, understand the unique value that you bring, and just start to make a list of some of those things you've been through. The mountains and the valleys and the resiliencies and the accomplishments and the customer satisfaction. It's customers too. So it's all those things. Number two is, how do you package it? And the way most of us package that knowledge is through our voice. And we walk into a prospect. Let's say you're selling dental practice consulting, and a dentist hears about you and calls you in, and you're sitting there with the dentist and maybe their team, and you're talking about your solutions. Well, how are you packaging your unique knowledge? Do you have a book? Do you have a white paper? Do you have a checklist? Do you have anything that you can put in front of the dentist, and say, hey, whether you do business with us or not, here's a guide, here's a handbook that will help you. Have you packaged your knowledge in a way, and this is a book that I wrote called 12 Bold Moves. You're welcome to download it, 12boldmoves.com. But the point there is that when I go into an organization now, or when I have a Zoom call, I can FedEx this out overnight. It's a brand new book, 2024. I've got other books that are older and probably more popular, but this is modern in how I talk about the 12 bold moves that you need to make. So now I have packaged that unique value, and my uniqueness comes through in here, just like your uniqueness will come through in whatever you do. Some of you will say, I'm not going to write a book. Okay, fair enough. But you can create something that's a whole lot less than a book and takes a lot less time, that will help put on display this unique medicine that you have. So you have to decide what that packaging looks like. What is that packaging? And I literally mean packaging. Is it a book? Is it a digital? Is it a video? Is it a podcast? Maybe it's just a one-part video where you talk about your story, who you've helped, how you've helped them, what you look for, how you frame problems, how you solve problems, how you onboard people. I mean, think about all the things you could put in that video, and that becomes your calling card in a way. So instead of handing a person a literal calling card, that you hand them a link to that video where they can really learn about what you know, how you can help them, etc. So packaging your knowledge is number two, packaging your medicine. Number three is distribution. How do you get this thing out to the world? And it's the forever challenge of most of us is we've got this special potion that we offer that helps people solve problems. Now the question is, how do we get it in the hands of the people who have the problems that we can solve? And that's a bit dicey because you can spend a lot of money and a lot of time and still not hit the mark. And so one thing I would recommend you do is say, first, how do I reach them in a free setting? You can buy ads and you can buy billboards and reach people that way. You can buy TV spots and podcasting spots and all that. But chances are you have people who are already familiar with you that would listen to, consume, watch, hear your packaged value, your packaged medicine. So I wouldn't start too broad. I would start with inside-out marketing. Inside-out marketing is just, who do you know? I mean, if you've been in business for, 5 to 10 years, you know a lot of people. And those people know people. And those people know people. What's the Kevin Bacon? Your six elements or six, I don't know what, the moves away from almost everybody. And so let's use that. Let's not go out and spend a lot of money on Facebook or LinkedIn ads. Let's use who we already know. And so distributing your knowledge comes through social media, free social media, organic social media, or it could be LinkedIn, Facebook. I like LinkedIn. There's parts of it I don't like, but generally I feel like that's where my clients hang out, and it's probably where your clients hang out too. So understanding the medicine you bring, packaging that medicine and distributing that so that people will raise their hand and say, hey, I want to learn more about you, Bob. I want to learn more about what you do. I just had a call about a month ago from a gentleman who read 12 Bold Moves. And in the back, I say something about, hey, if you want me to coach you or your team, I'm happy to jump on a call. He calls me. We are now in business, and I'm working with him and his team. And so that's an example of, this was packaged knowledge. It was my medicine that I packaged up. I distributed it to the world. He bought the book, and now he's a client of ours. And I've got multiple stories like that. He's just the latest. So think about medicine, how to package it, how to distribute it. And I think if you think about it that way, it gets you away from this whole personal brand thing, because I know personal brand is a no-no for people because there's so much bad info about, Kardashians and some of these influencers, and you immediately think of that as a personal brand. I don't, but you might. But this is different. It's what is unique about you and how do you distribute it. Okay, let me know. Let me know what you do on this. I think it's important that you get this concept. I think it frees you and allows you to go out to the marketplace in an entirely different way. See you next time.